So Amenhotep IV, in the first 5 years of his reign, added to the Aten temple, which was at Karnak temple. Unfortunately, that temple was dismantled after he died by a later king called Horemheb, and it was used as an infill for a pylon at Karnak. Amenhotep IV was trying to reform the Amun-Ra cult and the clergy of Egypt throughout Egypt, who had become powerful with lots of mortuary lands and gifts by previous 18th dynasty kings. He was trying to pedestal a form of Ra called Aten, and Aten was Ra when he was in the sky at the midday, at the horizon. By year 5, he declared himself as Akhenaten, the affection for Aten. At that time, he closed all the deity temples in Egypt and he began a new experiment, a monotheism, and Aten would be the only cult in Egypt. To do this, he chose to build a brand new capital city away from Waset and Memphis. The site was chosen as being equal distance from both capitals, brand new capital, at a place we call today Amarna. This was a virgin site which had never been dedicated to any other deity, and that was one of the big considerations at choosing the site. All the cult temples in Egypt were closed, and work on the new capital began. A new city for a new start. Amarna is where William Matthews Flanders Petrie found part of the palace floor. There was 2 palaces, one on the River Nile and one further inland, and he found this floor intact, and it's now in the Cairo Museum, probably in the new Cairo Museum if they've moved all the objects. Now, William Matthews Flanders Petrie also had an apprentice, I mentioned him earlier, and that was Edward R. Aten. He found the mummified body in KV 55 when he was working for Theodore Davis. The DNA tests today have confirmed that the mummified body of the unknown lady is certainly the mother of Tutankhaten/Amun. If we have a look at a map of Amarna, the city layout is quite simple. You have the main city, which is for housing, the central city, which is for the temples dedicated to Aten, the north suburb, which contained a palace, a royal palace, possibly for Nefertiti, or maybe it was shared with Akhenaten, and in the north city, a palace which was cool along the Nile banks. So I think the North City Palace was used in the hot summers, so you got the breeze off the river, and the North Suburb Palace was used in the winter months when it was slightly cooler. That would make more sense. The royal tombs were cut in the cliffs according to 18th dynasty styles, so they were mined. Remember, they didn't build them, they cut them out of the solid rock. During this period that Egyptian archaeologists called the Amarna period, the art changed. It was going to be more realistic. It was going to include the king and queen and the children. Before, kings and queens had appeared in the art together, but never the children. And in lots of these scenes, you see the king embracing his children and his chief wife embracing their children. This was a political statement, one which he was hoping would spread throughout the land of Egypt, that the new cult was about family. This period of Egyptian archaeology in the 18th dynasty is highly controversial in the minds of quite a few early, later and current archaeologists working in this specialisation. It's highly controversial with lots of different theories. We have to think about the changes of the clergy of the gods which started in the 12th dynasty. when a form of Ra was going to be the manifestation of all the deities. She had Isis Ra, Ra Harakti, which was the northern Horus rising fused with Ra. Now, when that happened, that was really to take responsibility of the main deity temples and put a firm fist really on the clergy. Now the kings of Egypt were going to be responsible for the deity temples, their repair, and who they appointed as high priests. This experiment in the 18th dynasty was slightly different. Aten wasn't a form of the other deities. He was all-powerful, he was singular, and it was about monotheism. So all the other deity temples were closed. However, there is evidence that within this new city of Aten, built at Amarna, that certain members of the population were still worshipping the old gods in secret. So although the official religion had changed throughout Egypt by the king, which was to worship the sun disk Aten, people felt their loyalty and leaning towards the old gods. The foreign policy seems very sketchy at this time. Letters were received from vassal states, probably from Canaan, and they were complaining that there were spies throughout their lands, that they're enemies and conspiracies. And one of the letters actually says, "There are enemies at my gates." Well, what was happening? Egypt has had a long-standing army now for over 180 odd years. It was a professional army. It was still there. So why was Akhenaten reluctant to send his army just into Canaan to sort out these incursions that were happening by other civilizations? Well, one possibility was that there's a hint that a plague was spreading out of the Near East along the Mediterranean coast, and the Egyptians were frightened it would come to Egypt. So maybe that's why he didn't send his army into Canaan. He thought, let's just wait and see what happens. That's what I think anyway. On the death of Akhenaten, the capital moved from Amarna back to Memphis, and the successor was Semen-Kar-Kar-Ra, who ruled Egypt from 1335 BCE to 1334 BCE for maybe 1 or 2 years. Now remember, I mentioned that this period of Egyptian history is highly controversial. Well, the king is depicted as male, and so was Hatshepsut when she ruled Egypt in the 18th dynasty. She was depicted as a male king. The guess is that this could be a male or female king. No one really knows for sure, and that's where the controversial idea comes in. On the succession of Semen-Kar-Kar-Ra, and when they have eventually ended their reign, the next ruler is supposedly Nefer-en-Efer-Aten, who ruled Egypt from 1334 BCE to 1332 BCE. It's changed the name from Aten to Efer-Ra. So there was a slight leaning away from the old new religion of the Aten and favouring Ra. It could have been a female, it could have been a male. Some controversial ideas is that this was the official name of Nefertiti. Nefertiti was still alive 4 years after her husband died and assumed the throne. We're never going to know for sure, but when they died, this Nefer-en-Efer-Ra, the successor was Tutankhaten, who we know today as Tutankhamun. And I'll tell you about them in the next video. Now, please press your subscribe button. Tell your friends and family about this channel. Encourage them to come and support it. and I'll see you real soon. Bye for now. So the aim of the project is to go to Egypt and provide a video tour of Amarna, which you can download onto a phone if you ever choose to go there. Now I must warn you that Amarna is a very difficult place to get to. It's outside the city of Minya, and I've been there several times and I've had nothing but problems. The archaeology is at ground zero level, so all you're going to see are reconstructions and the royal tombs and the nobles' tombs, and you're really at the mercy of the local officials there. I'll give you an example. To get there, you have to cross over from Minya onto Amarna by ferry, and when you get off there, the first thing they do is they insist that you go on the site in their bus, and they wanted a few years ago £100 English. That was the start of the negotiation, was to hire the bus for the day was £100 English. I ended up giving them £20 for both of us, and that was for what they thought was going to be 60-90 minutes. I kept them there for 5 hours, because whenever I go to an archaeological site, I'm not there for 10 minutes, I'm there for the whole day, and it was very difficult. So I'd love to go there and make a video tour of the place. It would take at least 2 or 3 days because it's a big site. To do this, I need your support. So on the page at the end of this video is the details of how you can fund this project. A small donation of between £1 and £3 would be gratefully accepted. Thank you so much. Bye for now. See you soon.